I want a divorce. The words hit me like a sledgehammer, shattering the illusion of our perfect anniversary dinner. Axel, my husband of 10 years, father of our 5-year-old daughter Mila, sat across from me, his face an impassive mask. "What?" I sputtered, my voice barely above a whisper. "What are you saying?" Axel's eyes, once warm and loving, now regarded me with cold detachment. "I'm leaving you, Sloane. I'm in love with someone else, Chloe." Chloe, his 25-year-old secretary. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. The late nights at the office, the secretive phone calls, the distance that had crept between us like a wall of ice. "She's pregnant, Sloane," Axel continued, twisting the knife. "I'm going to be a father again, a real father this time." His words knocked the wind out of me. For years I'd struggled with endometriosis, longing to give Mila a sibling. The miscarriages, the failed IVF attempts, the toll on my body and soul. Axel knew how much I'd suffered. How could he throw it in my face like this? "You've trapped me in this stagnant life for too long," Axel said, his voice rising. "You couldn't give me a son, so I found someone who could. Chloe and I are going to have a real family." Rage and anguish warred inside me. I wanted to scream, to throw my wine in his smug face, to demand how he could betray our vows, our family so callously. But a terrible numbness spread through me, the shock blunting my emotions. "Mila," I whispered, fighting back tears. "What about our daughter?" Axel shrugged, unmoved. "Chloe will be her stepmother. She'll have a little brother or sister to play with. It's for the best, Sloane. You'll see." He stood abruptly, tossing his napkin on the table. "I'll have my lawyer draw up the divorce papers. Try not to make this harder than it needs to be." With that, he walked out of the restaurant, out of our marriage, shattering every dream and plan we'd built together. I sat frozen, the other diners' pitying stares burning into me. The perfect wife, blindsided and humiliated. I don't remember paying the bill or driving home. The next thing I knew, I was standing in Mila's darkened bedroom, watching her sleep, her little face so innocent and peaceful. How could I tell my baby girl that her daddy had abandoned us? That another woman, another child, had stolen her place in his heart? Sobs racked my body as the full weight of Axel's betrayal hit me. The loving husband I thought I knew was a stranger, a monster who had ripped my world apart without warning or remorse. In dark stillness of my daughter's room, I made a vow. I would not let Axel break me. I would fight for my child, for the life we deserved. No matter how dirty he played, no matter how low he stooped, I would protect Mila from the poison of her father's choices, even if it destroyed me in the process. I showed up on my sister Zara's doorstep at midnight, mascara streaking my face, Mila asleep in my arms. Zara took one look at me and pulled me into a fierce hug, ushering us inside. "That bastard," she seethed as I poured out the whole sordid story. "He won't get away with this, Sloane. We'll fight him with everything we've got." Zara's determination ignited a spark of strength in me. I couldn't crumble, not when Mila needed me to be her rock. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into building a case against Axel. I combed through our finances, uncovering years of hidden credit card charges to luxury hotels, jewelry stores, and high-end lingerie boutiques. Charges that coincided with his frequent business trips and late nights at the office. I wasn't the only one Axel had betrayed. He'd been funneling money from our joint accounts to support his string of mistresses, all while pleading poverty when I begged for a family vacation or a new car. The depth of his deceit took my breath away. Armed with a stack of incriminating evidence, I confronted Axel, hoping to shame him into a fair settlement. Instead, he laughed in my face. "You really think a judge will care about a few indiscretions?" he sneered. "I'm the primary breadwinner, the stable parent. You're just a neurotic housewife popping pills to numb the pain of your pathetic life." Rage boiled in my veins, but I bit my tongue. I wouldn't stoop to his level, not in front of our daughter. But Axel had no such qualms. He launched a smear campaign, painting me as an unstable, unfit mother to anyone who would listen. He paraded Chloe around town, flaunting her growing belly like a trophy. Mila started coming home from school in tears, confused and hurt by the whispers and stares. My heart shattered as I watched my bright, bubbly girl withdraw into herself, plagued by nightmares and anxiety. The final blow came when I arrived to pick Mila up from a playdate, only to find Chloe waiting for me with a smug grin. Mila's staying with us tonight, she purred, stroking her bump. Axel thinks it's time she got used to her new family. White-hot fury exploded inside me. I lunged at Chloe, ready to claw the smirk off her pretty little face. But Axel appeared, wrenching me away with a bruising grip. "Careful, Sloane," he hissed in my ear. "You don't want to do anything crazy in front of our impressionable daughter, do you?" Mila stood in the doorway, her eyes wide and frightened. I forced myself to take a deep breath, to paste on a smile for her sake. "It's okay, baby," I said softly, kneeling to her level. "Mommy's just going to let you have a special sleepover with Daddy tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, okay?" Mila nodded uncertainly, clinging to my neck. I breathed in her sweet scent, memorizing the feel of her little arms around me. As I walked away, Chloe's mocking laughter echoed in my ears. "Don't worry, Sloane. I'll take good care of your little girl. After all, I'm going to be her new mommy soon." Rage and despair warred inside me as I drove home alone to an empty house. Axel was ruthless, determined to destroy me by any means necessary, and he was winning. But I refused to give up. I would find a way to expose his lies and manipulation, to save my daughter from his toxic influence, even if it meant going to war with the man I once loved. In the darkness of our silent bedroom, I pulled out my laptop and began to type. If Axel wanted to play dirty, I'd dig up every skeleton in his closet. I'd make him regret the day he decided to cross me. The gavel fell like a guillotine blade, severing me from my daughter. The judge, a stern-faced man with little patience for histrionics, had made his ruling. Sole physical custody is awarded to the father, Axel Davis. The mother, Sloane Davis, will have supervised visitation rights pending completion of a drug rehabilitation program. The words hit me like a physical blow. I staggered back, my legs giving way beneath me. This couldn't be happening. How could they believe Axel's lies? But the evidence was damning. Falsified medical records showing a history of prescription pill abuse, staged photos of me passed out on the couch, empty bottles scattered around me. Sworn affidavits from Axel's friends, attesting to my erratic behavior and neglect of our daughter. All lies, but masterfully crafted ones. Axel had spared no expense in his campaign to paint me as an unfit mother, and the judge had bought it. I locked eyes with Axel across the courtroom, bile rising in my throat at his triumphant smirk. Chloe clung to his arm, her belly swollen beneath her designer dress. The perfect little family. Mila sat between them, her face pale and pinched. She met my gaze, her bottom lip trembling. "Mommy," she whimpered, reaching for me. I lurched forward, desperate to comfort my baby. But the bailiff stepped between us, his hand on his taser. "Ma'am, I need you to step back." Axel scooped Mila up, cooing false reassurances. "It's okay, sweetheart. Daddy's here. I won't let Mommy hurt you anymore." Mila buried her face in his shoulder, her tiny frame shaking with sobs. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I barely remembered leaving the courthouse, numb to Zara's outraged shouts and the pitying stares of onlookers. All I could see was the image of my daughter, my reason for living, being ripped away from me. The next few months passed in a haze of despair and self-loathing. I moved through my days like a ghost, waiting tables at the diner for meager tips, returning to my empty apartment to stare at the walls. Axel wasted no time moving Chloe into our family home, playing house with his shiny new replacement family. I saw them everywhere, at the grocery store, the park, the school drop-off line. Mila looked thinner, her eyes shadowed and wary. She clung to Axel's hand, shrinking away from Chloe's cold gaze. The final twist of the knife came on a rainy October evening. I sat huddled on my couch, nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee, when a news story caught my eye. Congratulations to local businessman Axel Davis and his wife Chloe on the birth of their twins, a boy and a girl. The happy family is over the moon. A photo flashed on the screen, Axel and Chloe beaming in a hospital room, two tiny bundles nestled in their arms. The banner above the bed read, "Welcome, Aiden and Avery." Rage, hot and blinding, surged through my veins. Axel had gotten everything he wanted, the son he'd always craved, the perfect little family. While I rotted away in this hell of his making, stripped of my child, my dignity, my life. No more. I couldn't let him win. I wouldn't let him erase me from Mila's life, poison her against me. I had to fight back, to expose the truth. With shaking hands, I picked up the phone and dialed the number Zara had given me months ago. A gruff voice answered on the second ring. "Joe's PI Services." What can I do for you? I took a deep breath, my voice cold and steady. I need you to find dirt on Axel Davis and Chloe Summers. I don't care how deep you have to dig or how much it costs. I want to destroy them. There was a beat of silence, then a low chuckle. Lady, you've called the right man. Let's talk terms. As I laid out my plan, a flicker of hope ignited in my chest for the first time in months. Axel thought he'd won, but he had no idea what I was capable of. I would take back what was mine, no matter the cost. And heaven help anyone who stood in my way. The manila envelope landed on my coffee table with a thud, a ticking time bomb of secrets and lies. I stared at it for a long moment, my heart pounding in my ears. This was it. The ammunition I needed to blow Axel and Chloe's picture-perfect facade to smithereens. With trembling fingers, I ripped open the envelope and spilled its contents across the table. Photos, documents, USB drives, a treasure trove of dirt dug up by Joe, my PI. I sifted through the papers, my eyes widening with each damning revelation. Chloe's sealed juvenile record, detailing a vicious assault on a high school classmate who had dared to flirt with her boyfriend. A string of affairs with married men, each one ending with the wife mysteriously losing her job or her reputation. Chloe was no innocent victim. She was a master manipulator, a homewrecker with a trail of destruction in her wake. And Axel was just her latest conquest. Armed with this knowledge, I made a beeline for Axel's office, my heart racing with anticipation. I couldn't wait to see the look on his face when I exposed his precious Chloe for the snake she was. But Axel just laughed when I laid out the evidence, his eyes cold and mocking. You really think this changes anything, Sloane? No judge is going to take Mila away from me and my perfect family. Chloe sauntered in, the twins gurgling in her arms. She smirked at me, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Sloane, honey, when are you going to accept that you've lost? Axel chose me. Mila loves me. I'm her mommy now. Red-hot rage surged through my veins. I lunged at Chloe, my hands clawing at her smug face. She shrieked, stumbling back and clutching the babies to her chest. Axel wrenched me away, his fingers digging into my arms. You crazy bitch, he snarled, shoving me towards the door. That's the last straw. I'm calling the cops. I staggered out into the street, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Despair crashed over me in waves. Axel was right. No one would believe me. Chloe had them all fooled with her crocodile tears and motherly act. As I drove home in a daze, my phone pinged with a message from an unknown number. I pulled over, my hands shaking as I opened the text. Sloane, it's Chloe. I know you hate me, but there's something you need to know. The twins? They're not premature. I was already pregnant when Axel and I got together. I trapped him just like I trapped all the others. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I stared at the screen, my mind reeling. Chloe's confession was the missing piece of the puzzle. The proof that Axel had been played, that their whole relationship was built on a lie. But even with this revelation, I knew Axel would never admit defeat. His ego wouldn't allow it. He'd rather destroy me than face the truth about his precious Chloe. I needed a new plan, one that would hit Axel where it really hurt, his wallet and his reputation. For weeks, I pored over our financial records, searching for any shred of impropriety. And then I found it. A trail of offshore accounts and shell companies, all linked to Axel's business. He'd been embezzling money for years, funneling it into his own pockets. I copied every document, every scrap of evidence. And then I placed an anonymous call to the IRS, the FBI, and every media outlet in town. The story broke on a Monday morning, splashed across the front page of the newspaper. Local businessman arrested for tax fraud, embezzlement. Axel's mugshot stared up at me, his eyes hollow and defeated. I watched from a distance as the cops raided his office, seizing computers and boxes of files. Chloe fled the house in tears, the twins wailing in her arms. Mila clung to my hand as we walked past the chaos, her eyes wide and frightened. Is Daddy going to jail? She whispered. I squeezed her fingers, my heart swelling with fierce love and determination. I don't know, baby, but I promise I will never let anyone hurt you again. It's you and me now, forever. As we walked away from the ruins of our old life, I felt a flicker of hope ignite in my chest. Axel had underestimated me, and it had cost him everything. But my fight was far from over. I would make sure Mila knew the truth about her father, about the lies and betrayals that had shattered our family, and I would rebuild our lives, piece by piece, until we were whole again. No matter how long it took. 1 year. 365 days of clawing my way out of the hell Axel had dragged me into. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to rebuild my life brick by brick. I threw myself into my work, waitressing double shifts and taking on extra catering gigs. Every penny I earned went towards my new apartment, a cozy 2-bedroom just a block from Mila's school. Mila, my heart ached every time I saw her, which wasn't nearly enough. The court-ordered visitation schedule left me with scraps of time, snatched moments in between Axel's ironclad custody. But even those brief glimpses of my daughter were enough to fuel my determination. Mila was wilting under Axel and Chloe's neglectful parenting, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by their constant fighting and mind games. I watched from afar as Chloe paraded around town with the twins, showering them with designer clothes and expensive toys. Mila trailed behind them like a forgotten shadow, her clothes shabby and her face pinched with misery. It broke my heart, but I couldn't do anything. Not yet. I had to bide my time, build my case, until I could strike at Axel where it would hurt him the most. And then, a miracle. I was wiping down tables at the diner when I overheard 2 cops talking in hushed tones. "Did you hear about Axel Davis? The guy's been arrested for tax fraud. IRS raided his office this morning." I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Axel arrested? It seemed too good to be true. But it was true. The news broke that afternoon, splashed across every TV screen and newspaper headline. Axel Davis, local businessman and pillar of the community, led away in handcuffs, his assets frozen, his reputation in tatters. I watched the chaos unfold with a grim sense of satisfaction. Axel had sown the seeds of his own destruction, and now he was reaping the whirlwind. But my triumph was short-lived, because just days later, Chloe filed for divorce, citing Axel's arrest and irreconcilable differences. She was cutting her losses, trying to distance herself from the scandal. I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't let Chloe slither away with Mila, not after everything she'd done. I cornered her at the country club, my voice low and threatening. "I know what you are, Chloe. A liar, a cheater, a homewrecker, and I have proof." Chloe's eyes widened, her face paling beneath her perfect makeup. "What do you want?" she hissed, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. I leaned in close, my lips curling into a smile. "I want you to give me full custody of Mila. No visitation, no contact. You disappear, and I never breathe a word about your sordid past to anyone." Chloe's jaw clenched, her eyes flashing with hatred, but she knew she was beaten. "Fine," she spat. "Take the brat." She was always more trouble than she was worth anyway. I fought back the urge to slap her, my hands shaking with rage. But I couldn't lose control. Not now, when I was so close to getting everything I wanted. The custody hearing was a mere formality. With Axel in jail and Chloe nowhere to be found, the judge had no choice but to grant me sole legal and physical custody of Mila. I walked out of the courthouse with my head held high, Mila's hand clasped tightly in mine. I caught a glimpse of Axel being led away in shackles, his face twisted with impotent fury. "You'll pay for this, Sloane," he snarled, straining against the guards. "You think you've won, but I'll make you regret the day you crossed me." I just smiled, my voice calm and steady. "Goodbye, Axel. Enjoy prison. I'll be sure to send you photos of Mila's ballet recitals and birthday parties, all the memories you'll be missing out on." As we walked away, Mila looked up at me, her eyes shining with hope and love. "Is it really over, Mommy? Can we go home now?" I pulled her into a fierce hug, my heart swelling with emotion. "Yes, baby, it's over. We're going home, and no one is ever going to tear us apart again." I knew there would be challenges ahead, healing from the trauma, rebuilding our lives, learning to trust again. But with Mila by my side, I could face anything. We were survivors, she and I. And nothing, not Axel's vengeful threats or Chloe's vicious lies, could break the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. The courtroom fell silent as the judge entered, her face grave and serious. I sat ramrod straight in my seat, my heart pounding in my ears. This was it, the moment of truth. The custody hearing that would decide Mila's fate and mine. Axel slouched in his seat across the aisle, his prison jumpsuit a stark contrast to the expensive suit he once wore. Chloe was nowhere to be seen, having fled town with the twins as soon as the scandal broke. The judge cleared her throat, her eyes scanning the room. We are here today to determine custody of the minor child, Mila Davis. In light of recent events, I have reviewed all evidence and testimony presented to the court. I held my breath, my fingers clenched around the flash drive in my pocket, the one containing Chloe's confession, the damning proof of Axel's lies and manipulations. The judge turned to Axel, her voice stern. Mr. Davis, it is the opinion of this court that you are unfit to retain custody of your daughter. Your criminal actions and moral turpitude have rendered you incapable of providing a stable, nurturing environment for a child. Axel's face turned purple with rage, his fists clenching at his sides. You can't do this, he snarled, spittle flying from his lips. Mila is mine. I won't let that bitch take her from me. The judge banged her gavel, her eyes flashing with anger. Enough, Mr. Davis. One more outburst, and I will hold you in contempt of court. She turned to me, her expression softening. Ms. Davis, I have reviewed the evidence you provided, including the recordings of Miss Summers admitting to her role in your ex-husband's deception. It is clear to me that you have been the victim of a grave injustice. Tears sprang to my eyes, my throat tight with emotion. Finally, someone believed me. Someone saw through Axel's lies and manipulations. The judge leaned forward, her voice firm but compassionate. It is the ruling of this court that sole legal and physical custody of Mila Davis be awarded to her mother, Sloane Davis. Mr. Davis's parental rights are hereby terminated, effective immediately. The courtroom erupted in gasps and murmurs, but I barely heard them. All I could focus on was Mila, my precious girl, running into my arms with a cry of joy. I held her tight, my tears mingling with hers. It's over, baby, I whispered, stroking her hair. We won. We're going home. Axel's shouts of protest faded into the background as the bailiffs led him away, his face twisted with impotent rage. I caught a glimpse of Chloe in the back of the room, her eyes wide with fear. I walked over to her, my voice low and steady. It's over, Chloe. You lost. I suggest you leave town now before I decide to press charges for perjury and accessory to kidnapping. Chloe's face crumpled, tears streaking her perfect makeup. I'm sorry, Sloane. I never meant for it to go this far. I just wanted... I held up a hand, cutting her off. I don't care what you wanted. You helped Axel destroy my life, and for that, I will never forgive you. But I'm giving you a chance to start over, for the sake of your children. Don't waste it. Chloe nodded, her shoulders slumping in defeat. She gathered the twins and slipped out of the courtroom. A broken woman with nothing left to lose. I turned back to Mila, my heart swelling with love and pride. Let's go home, sweetheart. We have a lot of catching up to do. As we walked out of the courthouse, hand in hand, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The nightmare was finally over. Axel was going to prison, Chloe was gone, and Mila was mine again. But I knew the hardest part was still ahead, healing the wounds of the past, rebuilding the trust that had been shattered. It would take time and patience and love, but I was ready to be the mother Mila deserved, the strong, resilient woman I had always been beneath the pain and fear. We had lost so much, Mila and I, but we had each other, and that was enough, more than enough. As we stepped out into the sunlight, I smiled down at my daughter, my heart full of hope and promise. Let's go make some new memories, baby. Just you and me, forever and always. The tears wouldn't stop flowing as I held Mila in my arms, our hearts beating as one. My baby girl, my reason for living, was finally home where she belonged. I'm sorry, Mommy, Mila sobbed, her little body shaking with emotion. I'm sorry I believed Daddy's lies. I should have known you would never hurt me. I stroked her hair, my own tears mingling with hers. Shh, baby, it's not your fault. Daddy fooled a lot of people, even grown-ups. But the truth always comes out in the end. Mila clung to me tighter, her voice small and fragile. I missed you so much, Mommy. I was so scared without you. My heart shattered into a million pieces. The pain and trauma Axel had inflicted on our child, the precious bond he had tried to sever, it was unforgivable. But I couldn't dwell on that now. Mila needed me to be strong, to show her that we could heal and move forward together. I missed you too, sweetheart, more than you can ever imagine, but I'm here now, and I promise I will never let anyone take you away from me again. Mila looked up at me, her eyes shining with trust and love. Promise? I kissed her forehead, my voice fierce with conviction. I promise, Mila. It's you and me, forever and always. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of change and adjustment. I moved us back into the family home, erasing every trace of Axel and Chloe's presence. I repainted Mila's room in her favorite colors, filled it with new toys and books and stuffed animals. At night, I held her close as she slept, chasing away the nightmares that still haunted her. I knew it would take time for her to heal, to trust in the permanence of our new life together. But I was patient. I was strong. I would do whatever it took to help my daughter feel safe and loved again, even if it meant facing my own demons head-on. I sat across from Axel in the prison visitors' room, a plexiglass window separating us. He looked haggard and defeated, his once proud shoulders slumped in his orange jumpsuit. "What do you want, Sloane?" he sneered, his eyes cold and empty. "Come to gloat?" I shook my head, my voice calm and steady. "No, Axel, I came to serve you with divorce papers, and to tell you that you will never see Mila again." Axel's face twisted with rage, his fists clenching on the tabletop. "You can't do that! She's my daughter, too!" I leaned forward, my eyes locking with his. "You lost the right to call her your daughter the moment you chose your own selfish desires over her well-being. You lied, you cheated, you manipulated, and you used our child as a pawn in your twisted games." Axel's jaw clenched, his eyes flashing with hatred. "You think you've won, Sloane? You think you can just erase me from Mila's life? I'll find a way to make you pay for this. I swear it." I smiled, a cold, brittle thing. "You can try, Axel, but you'll fail. Just like you failed at being a husband, a father, a decent human being. I'm going to take everything you ever cared about. Your money, your reputation, your precious business. And when I'm done, you'll have nothing left but the bitter taste of your own failure." I stood up, gathering my papers. "Goodbye, Axel. Enjoy your new life behind bars. I'll be sure to send you updates on Mila's milestones, her graduations, her wedding, the grandchildren you'll never meet. All the moments you'll miss because of your own selfish choices." As I walked away, I heard Axel's muffled screams of rage and despair. But I didn't look back. I was done giving him power over me, over our lives. Mila was waiting for me in the car, her face anxious and hopeful. "Is it over, Mommy? Is Daddy gone for good?" I pulled her into a tight hug, my heart swelling with love and fierce protectiveness. "Yes, baby, it's over. Daddy can't hurt us anymore. We're free." Mila buried her face in my neck, her small body relaxing into mine. "I love you, Mommy. Thank you for saving me." I fought back tears, my voice choked with emotion. "I love you too, Mila, more than anything in this world, and I will always, always fight for you, no matter what." As we drove away from the prison, the sun setting on the horizon, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The battle was won, the war was over, and Mila and I had emerged victorious, stronger and more united than ever before. The future stretched out before us, bright and full of promise. A future where we could heal and grow and love without fear or restraint. A future where we were finally free to be ourselves, to chase our dreams and live life on our own terms, and I couldn't wait to see what that future held. 5 years. It seemed like a lifetime ago that I sat in that courtroom, fighting for my daughter's future, fighting for our freedom from the man who had tried to destroy us. But here we were, Mila and I, thriving in a life we had built together, a life filled with love and laughter and endless possibilities. Mila was 10 now, a bright, confident girl with a heart full of compassion and a smile that could light up the darkest room. She had her father's quick wit and charm, but none of his cruelty or selfishness. I watched her now, surrounded by friends and family at her birthday party, her face glowing with happiness. She caught my eye across the room and grinned, blowing me a kiss. My heart swelled with pride and love. This was what I had fought for, all those years ago, this moment, this life, this precious child who had saved me just as surely as I had saved her. I felt a warm hand on my shoulder and turned to see Mark, my partner of 3 years. He smiled down at me, his eyes soft with understanding. "You did good, Sloane," he murmured, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Mila is lucky to have you as her mom." I leaned into him, my heart full to bursting. Mark was a single father himself, with a daughter just a year older than Mila. We had met at a support group for parents going through difficult divorces and had been inseparable ever since. He understood my struggles, my fears, my fierce determination to protect my child at all costs. And he loved Mila, like his own, just as I loved his daughter Lily. We were a family, the 4 of us. A family born of shared pain and shared strength, of hard-won battles and unbreakable bonds. As the party wound down and the guests began to leave, I heard a knock at the door. I frowned, not expecting anyone else. But when I opened the door, my heart stopped in my chest. Axel. My ex-husband, the man who had tried to destroy me, standing on my doorstep with a bouquet of flowers in his hand. He looked older, thinner, his face lined with the weight of his sins, but his eyes were the same, cold and calculating, always searching for a weakness to exploit. "Hello, Sloane," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "It's been a long time." I felt Mark's presence behind me, solid and reassuring. I straightened my spine, my voice cold as ice. "What are you doing here, Axel? You know you're not supposed to come near us." He held up his hands in mock surrender, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "Relax, Sloane. I just wanted to see my daughter on her birthday. Is that so wrong?" I heard Mila's footsteps behind me, felt her small hand slip into mine. She looked up at Axel, her face a mask of confusion and fear. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why are you here?" Axel's face twisted with something like regret, his eyes flickering with an emotion I couldn't name. "Mila, sweetheart, it's me, your daddy. Don't you remember me?" Mila shook her head, her grip tightening on my hand. "No, I don't have a daddy, just a mommy." Axel flinched as if she had struck him, his face draining of color. He looked at me, his eyes pleading. "Sloane, please, I know I made mistakes, but I've changed. I just want to be a part of Mila's life again." I shook my head, my voice firm and unyielding. "No, Axel, you lost that right a long time ago. Mila doesn't need you. She has all the love and support she needs right here, with me and Mark and Lily." I stepped forward, my eyes locking with his. "You are not welcome here, Axel. Not now, not ever. I suggest you leave before I call the police and have you arrested for violating your restraining order." Axel's face twisted with rage and despair, his fists clenching at his sides. But he knew he was beaten. He turned and walked away. His shoulders slumped in defeat. I watched him go, my heart a mix of pity and triumph. He was a broken man, a shell of the arrogant, cruel creature he had once been, and I had been the one to break him, to make him face the consequences of his actions. But I took no pleasure in his pain. I had moved on, had found happiness and love and purpose in my life without him. I turned back to Mila, my heart swelling with fierce protectiveness. "Are you okay, baby? I'm sorry you had to see that." Mila hugged me tight, her voice muffled against my chest. "I'm okay, Mommy. I have you. That's all I need." I held her close, my eyes filling with tears. She was right. We had each other, and that was enough. More than enough. We had survived the worst that life could throw at us, had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. And as I looked out at the beautiful life we had built together, I knew that nothing could ever tear us apart again. We were survivors, Mila and I, and our story was just beginning.